Hi there, my name is Dr. Katie Saint, and this video is on reducing prompt dependency. So this is one of the loving errors that parents make sometimes when raising their kids. So what I mean by that is a lot of times as kids age, they lack skills, not because they're not able, but because they never had the opportunity to do it. So the point of this video today is just to kind of reflect on where your kids could get more independent. So we run the risk of doing too much for our kids, and typically it comes from such a loving place, or sometimes it's even just habit where you've just always done that, so it's just never occurred to you not to do that. And so because of that, our kids never get the opportunity to learn those skills. So sometimes a barrier to letting your kids be independent is the frustrating process of letting them learn. So sometimes kids don't want to learn. Sometimes while they're learning, they do a poor job and they make a mess, and it's faster and easier and less stressful to just do it yourself. And so all of those things are totally valid, except for if we want our kids to be independent, if we want our kids to be able to be as capable as possible, we need to let them experience these things, and we need to let them have trial and error. So, a child who grows up and is protected from failure and doesn't get to do things on their own, they're likely to have really high anxiety. So, this might sound backwards, but to overcome your fear of failure, you actually have to fail. You have to experience failure to know that it's actually not that bad. And if you fail, if you screw up, you can problem solve through it. So going through failure and experiencing that you were able to problem solve and it was okay and it wasn't the end of the world is hugely confidence building. So if we don't ever let our kids experience that, when they become adults, they don't have those skills at all, and they have really high anxiety. And a lot of times what happens is they're afraid to try things. They're not willing to go outside their comfort zone. The world is a really scary place. So another way that I see parents being super loving but accidentally hurt their kids is by trying to make them happy all the time. So sometimes language doesn't develop as quickly as it could because a parent can anticipate a child's need and they can just give their child everything they want right away. And so the child never has to ask for it. The child never has to use their language. And so those are missed opportunities for language development. So a big way that language is developed is through asking for things, taking advantage of that motivation where the child really wants milk or cookie and you prompt them to ask for it and you wait them out. If they don't have the skill, then we're not going to wait them out. That's an unrealistic expectation. But once we know our child has that skill, setting that expectation is really good for them. And holding that standard is really good for them. When we look at the research of when kids are required to do chores, what the outcomes are when they're adults, it's huge. Kids who did chores when they were kids are more successful than kids who didn't do chores. And so sometimes when working with people with disabilities, parents are like, oh, my kid doesn't have to do chores because he has a disability. No, even kids with disabilities need to do chores. It builds confidence, it builds skills, it makes them feel like they're a contributing member of the family, it makes them feel valuable. So another thing we run into as kids get older is we recognize that, or they recognize that they're not contributing as much and they feel bad about that. And so part of how we build self-esteem in the older population is showing them how they can contribute. But as a parent, you can start that at a really young age. So no matter how old your kid is, whether they're 2 or they're 10, looking for ways to help them be just a little bit more independent is going to be super confidence building. Now, I am in no way suggesting that you're just throwing your kids out there and you're like, well, you're on your own. See you guys later. No, you're walking alongside them. You're being supportive. You're teaching them. You're right there with them, but you're letting them do it. You're letting them problem solve and figure out so that they can develop these skills. They are not going to develop skills if everything is done for them, if there's no accountability. So these are all foundational things that need to start happening at a really young age in order for kids to develop confidence and independence. So if you want help figuring this out or even looking for more areas on what to target, reach out to your ABA team. They can support you, help you brainstorm, even make plans for you to increase independence in these areas. Alrighty, thanks so much for listening. I hope this was helpful.